Welcome to the Vine Resources podcast show. Welcome to another edition of the Vine Resources podcast show. Today I've got with me Chris Daplyn. Chris is the CEO of Possible UK. Chris, thanks for joining me.
No problem.
And thank you again for coming to our office. So it's lovely for you to come into our office in London. I really appreciate that.
No problem at all. It's nice to come down.
Chris, why don't you give our listeners a quick introduction about who you are and who the company is?
So I'm Chris, I'm CEO of Possible UK, or UK Group, so that's London, Budapest and Katowice in Poland. We're a digital marketing agency, so we help clients stay at the forefront, I guess, of cultural tech innovation using creativity. So that's anything from building apps, websites, communications campaigns, social media. So really helping clients manage that new sort of modern marketing ecosystem, so let's call it.
Fantastic. And what I'm going to jump straight in. I'd love to know, what does a typical day in the business look like for you as the leader?
Sure. I guess the stock answer is no 2 days look the same. And I think in a marketing agency, that's why you get into it. I think that's why it's interesting, because you always do different things with different clients. There are some constants, I guess. On a Monday, every Monday we get in and review all the work. So look at all of the work going through the business and looking at how we can push it and create a better product for our clients. Thursday is always financials day, looking at profitability. But other than that, it could be varied. It could be talking to a client about their business. It could be looking at internal pieces of business and how we can sort of develop our internal product. But I guess what's easy is that you get really sucked into the day-to-day. So what I do is try and set up my day so I'm always looking at how we can spend some time looking at the future business, the future product, where we're going next, because that's one of the most crucial bits for us.
Fantastic. And you've got about 100 to 120 employees in the UK, is that all across the three?
No, that's just in London.
That's in London,
yeah.
Plus the additional people in Hungary and
so
Poland.
Probably about 250 total.
Do you get a chance to go out to those offices?
Yeah,
often?
absolutely. So I'm trying to do it once a month, get out to each one, but then also we could speak with those guys sort of on a regular basis. They're a critical part of the mix. So we sort of handle the clients mostly. New business comes to us, but also doing the design and the UX and the creative product. And depending on the assignment, either Poland or Budapest will help us with the back end sort of development and the technical build of our solution.
You've been in the business world for a long time already, but can you name a person perhaps who's had a tremendous impact to you on as a leader? Perhaps it was even a mentor, and how has that impacted your life and your business outlook?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to cheat on this because I've got two, I think. But and the first one is a real cheat because it's a group of people. But I started off in an agency called Blueprint in Putney, and the Leafy Putney, and it was a business that was owned by 4 women, and 4 women partners ran the business. And I think it taught me that you can run a really successful business with total collaboration, and they didn't argue, they didn't fight, they each had their different roles and responsibilities, and each were equal partner in the business. But they each listened to each other, and that whole collaborative leadership thing, I think, really stuck with me. And then the second one is my sort of, I guess, she'd hate me saying this, but career mentor now. But Mel Edwards, who's my boss's boss, but I've worked with her now in 3 different roles. So I worked in an agency called Leader with her, then moved to Wonderman, and now at Possible, sort of she still maintains my overall boss. But Mel has taught me, lots of stuff. But I guess one of the main things is, you're only as good as the team around you. So she's brilliant at bringing people together and building an awesome team, and that's hopefully what I'm trying to replicate. Fantastic.
Nice to hear. Employee engagement, that's a really critical part of the success of any business. So what are you doing at Possible UK from the top to engage your employees?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because it's such a timely topic at the moment. Everyone's talking about, particularly about January, but well-being and benefits and what you're giving your staff. I think one of the things for me that's crucial is, are we paying them right, and are they working on interesting stuff? So first of all, are we matching market level in terms of salary? Are they being rewarded financially for what they're doing, and based on their performance? And have they got interesting clients to work with? We're really lucky in Possible. We've got the likes of Adidas, Specsavers, Canon, Aston Martin, and HSBC. So we've got some really great clients which we've gone after. And I think that is the first thing. So we get that right. I guess the second thing for me around engagement is creating the right work environment. And that's about building a collaborative, inclusive culture where people really feel like they can do their best work. And then we start to look at the icing on the cake, I guess, which is the things that we give back in terms of benefits and the nicer things like, and we've got all sorts of things that are coming, I guess, from the top, but trying to create empowerment and investment with the teams to be able to build their own things as well. So, from things like collaboration panels, diversity, panels and discussions, things about well-being and being able to develop new things for the office. We've got different teams that look at that, and they rotate. But it means that rather than it all being top-down, we can empower people to build the business they want to be in, and we put the investment behind it.
Fantastic.
They have to report into the board to develop those things and get sign-off and approval, but it works really well.
Fantastic. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing business leaders today?
I think that it's interesting. I think looking at some of my clients and us, there's the macroeconomic trends which are interesting. There's uncertainty around Brexit. There's tightening budgets, which means on the other end for me in the service industry, there's a constant request for more for less. And how can we deliver more value? How can we look at new business models? So I think there's big challenges in terms of the economics of business. I think the bit that you alluded to last question as well around engaging a millennial and a Gen Z workforce and keeping people engaged with your business and your purpose and what you're there for, I think is a challenge for all leaders to make sure that we're connecting with how can we create the most positive environment for our staff and our teams. And then from an industry perspective, I think from leaders, there's definitely challenges within the marketing industry itself and the advertising industry itself. There's a competitor, the competitor set's changing. With consultants coming in and buying up agencies. We've got startups coming in and disrupting models, and capabilities are being homogenised. So I think across digital, as particularly, everyone's trying to do everything. And so you've got to be able to carve out your niche and carve out your sort of individuality within that mix. So it's a challenging environment.
For sure. Can you share with our listeners the best bit of business advice you've ever received?
Yeah, and I've been asked this a few times, and I'm a bit of a rubbish answer here, but I've been really lucky to work with people that I tend to learn by observing and being able to replicate what they do. I don't think anyone's ever sat me down and given me a nugget that I think that's amazing. I think one of the things that I took to heart most, probably because of the way I was when I was earlier on in my career, was just when I got to Leader when I was first working with Mel, who I said was my sort of mentor. And it was a bit of an off-the-cuff comment that was about, you've got to just be yourself at work because otherwise it's just too exhausting not to. And I really took that to heart actually, in empowering people to just be themselves, not think that they've got to be something else because they're in the workplace and that's all different, and be able to contribute everything they've got to the business. I think that's something that I definitely took away.
Fantastic. If I was a new employee at Possible UK, what's the one thing, or what's the things that you do to help me? How would you help me understand the culture of the company?
Sure. I think we're developing and have developed, I think there's still work in progress, a full-on onboarding program that starts from when you accept the offer and finishes probably the onboarding bit about 3 to 6 months into your reign. So we've got a series of things that you go through to make sure that you've got a real full understanding of the business. I think one of the principles around it is show, don't tell. I think you can tell someone what your culture is, but they have to experience it. And so what we've tried to do is put a number of initiatives together that actually demonstrate the collaborative and creative culture. Everything about our culture is striving to create the best end product that we can for our clients and businesses and solve the most interesting problems in the most interesting way. But to do that, you've got to have collaboration, you've got to get diverse perspectives working together. So that starts with sort of a whole communications program before they join the business, meeting the teams, keeping in touch. There's a rigorous onboarding thing where you sit down with each of the departments and teams. We have a buddy system where people then have their buddy when they come in, and they can go out for lunch. They have and drinks, so they have some budget to just be able to go and connect, and they can bring a couple of other people along for the business, just to make sure there's that team building and that sort of stuff right from the start. And then we've got different initiatives that we try and get people involved in from the start. Like the different ones that I talked about earlier. So that they can get involved in the company's diversity programs, they can get involved in lunch and learn. So then working in a team to bring new people into the business that might inspire us in different ways. So them using their contacts to bring in. So all in all, there's as I said, a full-on process.
Yeah, quite understand that. What's the one mistake you witness business leaders making more frequently than others?
I think there's sort of a theme as what I've seen in some leaders as you progress further up, your listening gets worse even. But just being able to, and I think there's this misconception that you have to always be right and you have to know the answer. I think you have to make the decision, but you don't necessarily have to always think that you're right or always be right. And I think that's one of the common mistakes, is that unable to understand other people's opinions and change yours based on a good argument. I think there's too many leaders that I've seen bullishly push their own agenda and their own thing because they think that's the right thing, rather than being able to listen to other people around you. I think when you're a more junior person coming up through the ranks, you're just listening to everything because you want to just understand and learn more. And I think you've got to try and keep that as much as you can into your leadership, albeit you've got to make a decision at the end, but being open to diverse perspectives.
You mentioned at the start that your industry is changing rapidly and there's new startups all the time coming through. But how do you see the industry changing over the next couple of years? And just as importantly, how do you think it'll affect your ability to attract and retain best talent?
Sure. I mean, we, as Possible as a digital agency, was born about 7 years ago, so we were created by WPP. And so we were born in this world of change. I mean, the marketing industry has been changing all the time, and particularly in digital. And I think digital will continue to fragment businesses. The interesting thing for us is that because we're at the forefront of the consumer, and our obsession is about what the consumer's doing, not the business. Our job is to connect businesses' products with consumer movement. And so I think we're at the forefront of that change. You're right. Technology will continue to disrupt things. New entrants will come in, startups will come in with new technology and new functionality that will replace things. AI services will replace customer services. All of these things are going to keep changing. But I think the constant for us, and the brilliant bit for us, is that we're well placed, is that businesses will still have problems and they'll need to solve them with creativity. And I think that's an exciting prospect for anyone who wants to come into sort of a really an intellectual and creative pursuit of trying to solve problems with creative ideas. So for us, it's just about publishing that and getting that out there. I think you're right. We are competing with now startups is where all the sort of the sexy noise is coming from, rather than advertising these days, or the money and consultancy. So I think we're in the middle and we've got a challenge, but I definitely think it's a pretty bright future.
Fantastic. And look, if you were if you had your time again and given your 20-year-old self advice, what's the one thing that you would say to yourself?
Yeah, I thought about that. I think I'd probably tell myself to chill out a little bit. When I first started work, it was like work was a serious business for me. I was like, I needed to work harder and longer than anybody else, and I needed to make sure I was pushing myself as hard as I could. Which it didn't do me any harm, but at the same time, I look back on it and go, God, just chill out and actually listen to the people around you. I remember nearly quitting my first job because they said you need to walk before you can run. And I went home fuming, going, why won't they just help me run? But actually, I think now I'd just say, chill out, learn from everybody around you, and take your time and progress through.
Great advice there. Chris, thank you for doing this with us today. Really appreciate hearing your insights and sharing it with our listeners. What's the best way for people to get in touch with Possible UK, or indeed yourself?
You can go onto possible.com and look for the UK, or anyone can just drop me an email. It's chris.daplyn@possible.com.
Thank you very much for your time.
No worries, thank you.